tank. That's really what they were lacking in that last comp. It didn't really feel like the Rek'Sai added that much to the composition that like a Sejuani or a Zac or somebody else who could initiate team fights would have.
And granted, the Sejuani and Zac were banned in games 1 and 2 by Colombia, so I will give them a little credit on that, but the Skarner they could go for, the Olaf, which was taken by Buckzac in game 2, just any, or even the Volibear, if they really want to go for something that's going to be able to actively use Predator to run it down the back line of Colombia.
Certainly so, but the one thing that will not be changing is the side selection, as Columbia College has opted for red side. And as such, they will continue to make sure that All Arrow does not get to have any fun this game, and by banning at the Talia.
I mean, I will give All Arrow a lot of credit. His Cassiopeia in the early game was quite disgusting, so I almost wonder if maybe Columbia give it some respect that way. Right now, it seems like the Olaf is going to be the one respected, so Buckzac not allowed to play some of these Predators. I almost wonder if Skarner is going to join him in that.
And with the Olaf already banned away, that does just push the priority of Skarner even higher right now. Whether Columbia College actually respect that or think that Hyami is going to play that is another question entirely. And even going back to the mid lane from All Arrow, every single time he's had decent lanes, it's just he hasn't been able to convert on it ever. He got ganked repeatedly in game number 2, wasn't able to do anything in game number 1, and I mean, game number 1, I really can't put too much on him. Like, that was just bot lane completely dying, plus top lane going down, and when you're the only remaining lane with pressure, there's just not much you can do on that board. But game 2, like, play it up way too aggressive in the mid lane. Multiple plays tried to, like, be the hero. The flash engage wasn't quite there. If he's going to be your carry, you need to support him.
Xayah has been banned, something that fell to the wayside in games 1 and 2. Kind of surprised to actually see that, but this is something I like to see, an adaptation from Lourdes as they take Galio for themselves.
And that's a big one, because it's almost felt like they've been really prioritizing this on the side of Columbia College to keep Julian from really losing the lane. And I mean, Galio, I'm not really sure you're going to stomp on anyone in the laning phase, and this does still allow the Corki, which Columbia College have just been so incredibly comfortable on all season long, but that definitely does give a little bit more room for Lourdes to play through these other two lanes. I mean, Galio, as long as you play it right, shouldn't really be on the receiving end of too many effective ganks.
Not at all, but Sejuani gonna be picked up by Buckzac since it was left open. First game that we're seeing this series where Sejuani and Zac both weren't banned, so honestly, I expect to see Hyami going for the Zac. It just makes so much sense into Sejuani.
The Zac is an option, the Skarner is an option. Something needs to change, though, because even the J4 would be too dreadfully bad here. Ooh, all right, yes, let's change. We got the engage.
You want to change Leona, Galio. That is some hell of an engage coming in from Lourdes, and top that off with the Jhin at far range. So, gonna see a lot of shenanigans at level 2 from this bot lane of Lourdes.
Yeah, this is going to be very, very, very aggressive. And already, without even seeing the top lane, without seeing the jungler, Lourdes have already locked themselves into this kind of win condition where they just need to, like, win the game at 20 minutes. If the game is not over at 20 minutes, Columbia College wins the match. Because as the engaged style competition, as that dive comp, you are only as good as your dive. And if you let that backline really start to scale up, if you let them get this big, beefy front line in front of them, there's just not too much left. And I'm really questioning whether that Leona pick was worth the lack of either a Zac or the lack of a Skarner. Wait a second. I'm looking through. I'm thinking the Skarner, but I'm just trying to like rack my head. What do they have left in the tank? It's got to be something that they prepared beforehand, because they have Rengar.
I want to see some cheese, honestly.
I
don't want it to be Rengar. No, don't do this.
My mind is telling me no, but my body is telling me yes.
Oh no.
If there's one thing I have known about Hyami, it's he is about to pick Rengar.
Who dares?
I want to wait on bated breath to see if it's gonna be the Rengar. I mean, with the J4 band, it's like they really are trying to pressure him towards either the Zac or onto the Rengar. So it could be something we're seeing as two support bands come in from Lourdes. Braum and Tark that leaves open the Alistar if they want to have that kind of combination with the Caitlyn.
I think the Zac is the better pick here. I think the Rengar is the pick, though.
Yeah,
I think they just...
Thresh,
If you're going to go with that much engaged potential, you just double down on it time and time again. And, I mean, once again, Zac would be completely viable, but my heart, it says Rengar.
well, with Thresh, it makes it a little bit more difficult for Xiaomi to want to go for that Zac, but Jax, something that was banned. Game 1 and 2 in the second rotation did make it through, so there's that potential that could go into Xiaomi's hands if he wants to go for the jungle with the Conqueror, or even the top lane, both of them having incredibly high win rates. No, it is the Nocturne, so it is the Jax Conqueror Nocturne from Xiaomi.
Xiaomi versus Dardoch confirmed. The only time I've seen Nocturne in competitive play was that one Echo Fox game where Dardoch...
Well, you're clearly not watching the GPL because there was picked there too. So.
Okay, that is completely fair. That is the origin story of Nocturne. But yeah, the win condition right now is very clear. You dive Evan RL. Evan RL does not get to survive any fights, and outside of Thresh, who really can only peel 1 or 2 people at a time, Nocturne plus Galio is an incredibly strong duo, and honestly, wouldn't be shocked to see a little bit of a Gigabyte Marines-esque style trying to rush that Nocturne to level 6. So we'll have to see how that one actually plays out in the early game, because there is a lot of potential here.
You cannot forget who's going to be joining them, and that is going to be Artemis on Leona. So normally you talk about Leona, and you look at that level 2. You want to make sure that you are the ones to get it first, so you can go for that all-in at level 1, level 2 discrepancy.
That is entirely true, but against a Caitlyn, against a Thresh, it is very hard to do that, and even looking the other way, Thresh plus Caitlyn wants to also go in at that level 2, so this will be just an arms race on the bottom portion of the map to see who actually can hit that point first. The big discrepancy for me, though, is Sejuani has the ability to gank at these early intervals. Nocturne really doesn't.
Not at all. He's got some kind of way. He's got the Duskbringer where he can get himself a little bit of movement speed, but that doesn't really help that much. It's kind of like Skarner, where you're like, well, I guess he has Fracture, but you want the Impale. Nocturne has Duskbringer, but he wants to be able to jump back into the backline and really inflict the nightmares that way.
He just wants to kill Evan RL. That is this game, the win condition, the team compositions summed up in one sentence, and it's certainly going to be a lot on the plate of CC Dean. And I mean, given his play so far this game, I'm inclined to say that he's going to actually be able to do a fairly decent job of making it happen. But contrary to popular belief, there are in fact other lanes in the game, though. The Galio versus Corki, we've seen time and time again, Galio's going to farm up, Corki's going to out-farm him, and then Galio's going to try to make the play earlier on in the game, and then where it really does start to come to a head for me has to be Fiora versus Jax, especially if they take this new Conqueror rune.
That's what I was just going to bring up, too, because you look at these two, that they both want to be aggressive, they want to try to see if they can get kills early, but at the same time, they want to split push. They want to make it so that they're the ones taking down towers, maybe even drawing a little bit of attention from Booksack, from Xiaomi, while the rest of their team can go for other objectives, go for towers, go for dragons, rift heralds, whatever they need to go for.
Certainly an option on the board, but if there's one thing that we have seen so far this match, it is that Columbia College is extremely comfortable at playing League of Legends, and maybe taking a page out of the book of Game of Marines, sometimes you just need to play a game that is not League of Legends. Just
I don't see the orange support with what was the other thing that they put?
The orange support versus the Alawi support. That was my personal favorite.
That was what it was.
God bless.
I don't know if I could trust Lourdes with this Gigabyte Marine style. They don't even go fully with it.
Well, we'll have to see
if
this pale imitation, unfortunately, is enough. And I mean, a win here would mean so much for the side of Lourdes. This is a Columbia College squad that has not dropped a single match to any college squad. Also, they've run into a little bit of trouble playing off against the amateur scene. I know Azio, Zenith, Wildcard have all given them a little bit of trouble in the past, but in this season, they have not lost a single Nexus to college teams, and looking to make a run right at the #1 spot going into the national championships, they don't want that to change.
No, and I think it was Drake put it best that anything less than a 3-0 would be a failure for his book. So they want to make sure that they are showing everyone in college LoL, that they are the team to fear. And honestly, if they keep playing like they did in games 1 and 2, they truly are that team.
Yeah, and most importantly, all of the guys in Columbia College, they just want to go on spring break finally, so a win here would definitely help them on their way. Give them a little bit of time to rest before those conference.
Lords, don't do it.
Yeah, Lourdes.
Don't do it, Lords.
Well,
Don't let them have relaxation.
We want Lourdes to win the game.
No, that's what I'm saying. Don't let Columbia go on spring break. You cannot let them.
No
be
spring
able to
break
go
allowed.
relax. No, exactly. Best of 5. This is a best of 5. We need a full best of 5 return as we get into game 3. There is the potential still, but this is the last game for Lourdes. They got to put everything out there. They got to put their heart and souls onto the table and play to the best that they possibly can.
So far we have one conqueror. Chemo on the Jax is taking, whereas Misty Stumpy does want to remain on the Kleptomancy. He just wants the extra scaling, so we'll finally get to see in competitive here for the Collegiate Star League and for CLOL whether that's actually going to be worth its weight in gold, but already a very unique engage.
And they sent both home... No, it's Artemis and Hyami up here, trying to see if they can find Misty Stumpy. Wait, they're really going for it. Look at this. They're putting...
If you're going to go with the cheese comp, you got to do it all the way.
Yeah, but maybe they're gonna get spotted out because they're about to go near this tri-bush, and with everyone pretty much gathered around, yep.
There it is, Misty Stumpy. They
What
spotted
is
out
the-
one member.
What is the thought process here? What are they trying to actually do? There's no
They
way
should
they
have
would
just sent everyone into the bush. I mean,
Yeah.
they might as well just put them in the lane and said, we're just gonna wait.
like unless Misty Stumpy was sitting in the topside bush, there's no way they ever would have called out any member of Columbia College. So,
And
bit of a head scratcher.
It's very much a head scratcher because Misty Stumpy has been a player to just sit in that dry bush. He wants to stay back. He doesn't need to be that aggressive early on. Sure, once the jungle camps have spawned, he likes to go in and put a deep ward, but that's after they spawn.
That is incredibly true, but no early game vision. A little bit of guessing coming out here as they do figure out that Bugzak is on that bottom side, and I mean, Hyami finally not an early game jungler. We're not expecting too much out of him these first few levels, but this is now just the race to level 6, and how quickly can he make an impact?
Yeah, exactly. So honestly, this is one of those games where the junglers aren't necessarily going to be the important part. I mean, honestly, games 1 and 2, they weren't really the most important part either because it was a lot about the lanes trying to win out. But this one especially, fresh into Leona. They want to try to get to level 2, and that's when they're going to start going for as much action as possible.
This bot lane is just so close to just on a knife's edge. One little play is all it will take to throw it one way or another. No more of these little defensive mage supports. They're going all in.
Oh, they got the death sentence onto Artemis, forcing the flash out of him already. That's going to be pretty brutal for the spot lane of Lourdes.
And that already does hurt as Evan RL finally getting the Caitlyn pick in the lane. Will still continue to push on in. But now it does turn into how aggressive will the Leona be? And maybe Leona does start to roam over to the mid lane. Maybe you look for the assistance of Alero, but one thing is sure for the Lord squad, they don't have great scaling in the early game until you hit that level 6 mark. Then so much more opens up around the map.
And it's going to be really interesting. I want to see where Xiaomi's going to opt to go for with that Eternal Darkness, the paranoia that he's going to be able to spread. Going to be fun to watch. You don't get to see Nocturne too often, so when you do, you're always excited.
Well, you see Nocturne even less if you're on his opposing team, as he will just black out that
Not
screen
wrong.
and try to find some spicy kills, but you're certainly right in, well, this is a comp they've prepared before, but engage.
Ooh, they landed a lot of the CG on to Evan RL, trying to see if they can force him back, but just gonna get another stun. That's the Flay to discourage both Homecoming and Artemis from going a little bit further, but getting Evan RL pretty low is gonna be a nice little bit of trade, though no summoners were expended by Columbia.
And there are no heals in this lane. It is only cleanse plus ignite, so certainly so much potential for the early engage plays, and it almost turns into a game of chicken where the first one used that cleanse, they could just be completely screwed at that point.
Not wrong, especially with the ignites and how Artemis and Dean have pretty much been showing they want to play this game. They want to play aggressively. They want to make sure they're punishing Evan RL and Homecoming for having a little bit of a lack of mobility. This is going to be where, especially now that we're getting backs from Buckzak and Hyami, we're going to try to see if they can go for some of these plays to get one of their lanes ahead.
I really want to see where Hyami is going to start prioritizing, whether it be the top side of the map or the bot side, because unlike the first two games, he has winning conditions on both sides. You can win with a Fed Jax, you can win with a Fed Homecoming plus Artemis duo, but he really, in the last set, hasn't decided on one side to protect. It's just been kind of floating back and forth, seeing if he can eventually counter a Buckzak, and it honestly just hasn't been effective all series long, and if he wants to win, now it's got to be a change.
Top lane, Misty Stumpy really poking out Chemo, this Fiora, with Kleptomancy starting to get some little bit more scaling than Chemo is going to be able to get. Especially with the Conqueror, he's going to be wanting to fight, not necessarily just getting poked out consistently.
That certainly is a bit of a rough task against the Fiora. You do have the disengage coming out of the riposte, so I want to see if he's actually going to be able to lock down that lane, and this still does really revolve around where they want to go, but Dean, he's going to bring someone in.
They found Artemis. He's trying to go back in with the Zenith play, but here comes the teleport. They really want to put a lot in to taking down Artemis, as the first blood will be given over to Evan RL.
And that was a great gank. There was absolutely no knowledge where Buckzak was, even though there was a ward right on the Gromp. I don't think he actually walked over it, so...
He went through lane.
Yeah, he's just really good pathing coming out of Buckzak. Not much disengage potential on the side of the bot lane for Lourdes, and they get punished for it.
Now Julian fighting with All Arrow in mid, but Buckzak consistently going with these roams. Even gets the flash out of All Arrow. Don't know if that was necessarily needed, but definitely scary to see that Sejuani there.
And this is the same story every single game. Step 1, force those flashes out. Step 2, profit. But Hyami is getting into a bit of a fight with Buck.
No paranoia yet. He's not level 6, so not going to be able to follow up Buckzak just yet, but he's trying to go pretty deep. Gotta be careful. I'm pretty sure he already used the spell shield. Here comes the heroic entrance to get the flash out of Buckzak, so maybe Buckzak got the flash out of All Arrow, but he returns the favor just a little bit later.
Hyami is doing a great job of just getting these levels, getting the CS. He is currently 22 CS up, and there's the darkness.
Oh, paranoia coming in, but he's going to follow up with a great flash, but that is Dean right there, right place, right time, trying to see if they can discourage this aggression from Lourdes. who don't actually get anything. They get Julian so low, but don't actually finalize any kills. And the flash from Dean to go on to Artemis with Evan rotating into the mid lane. Lots of damage. Death Sentence will connect and give the second kill of the game over to the AD carry of Columbia College.
I mean, that ult was just so incredibly aggressive. No aggressive items built yet onto Hyami, and trying to engage so hard is just an incredibly rough thing to pull off this early in the game. And he honestly was doing his best Dardoch impression there. Goes in, unable to find anything. Though, I have to say, really good kiting back out of that fight afterwards. He didn't actually fall from that, but Artemis will be picking up the tab on that one. He is going to go in for the second time in this game, and Evan Arell is starting at this lane with 2-0-0 scoreline.
He's someone you don't want to see fed. He's absolutely monstrous when he gets ahead, so finding himself at that kind of gold lead over Homecoming, who has turned pretty effective for himself so far, but the game keeps scaling up this way. This is a Caitlyn ahead of a Jhin in the early stages of the game.
And it's going to be really terrifying going on through. But it's all going to be about how well does this engage start for Lourdes, because this isn't a team that can team fight. You have the Galio in the mid lane. Sure, you do have a little bit of split push pressure on the top side of the map, but you don't have wave clear. So Lourdes, the only way they win this game is if that engage works. And so far, early answers are saying no, but if they can turn that around, they still have the potential. But once again, the game lives or dies based off of that engage.
Hyami right now is doing a pretty good job for himself, sitting at a level advantage towards Buckzak and has quite a lot of CS over his counterpart in that jungle. Julian, very interesting mission that he found himself on with the package over the wall. Doesn't really do much to All Arrow though.
Yeah, the jungles are on very different sides of the map. Kimo has to stay safe, but Hyami's on that bot side.
And even with the knowledge of the ward, there's not really much that Kimo... Here comes the grand challenge, tanking the tower like a champ was Buckzak to give over the kill to Misty Stumpy.
And this is still just Chemo receiving absolutely no love the entirety of this series. This play has happened every single time. Now Lourdes is trying to make something on bot side, but this is so incredibly telegraphed.
Now he is here. He has the paranoia. They even have Galio in the area if they really wanted to go and commit fully for the dive, but Lourdes a little bit lackluster on that. Not necessarily so confident that they wanted to go for this dive, especially with the fact that they knew Julian was there, but maybe they go for it anyways as they might find out Dean. They knock him up under tower, taking down the support of Columbia and actually having it traded around. Yami falls, but Misty Stumpy found himself way down bot lane for no reason. Does help out his team to pick up the kill, and here comes the ace in the hole to finalize the rampage for Evan RL. All Arrow has to run away from that dive coming in from Lourdes.
And that was so aggressive coming out of Lourdes. That play was telegraphed every step of the way. TP comes from Missy Stumpy, and incredibly unfortunate that they weren't actually able to follow up that kill onto the Fiora, but All Arrow is going to try to defend this tower.
Onto All Arrow, but it's Julian who's tanking it, so Evan RL was able to get some free damage. Just gotta be careful. Taking the damage tower a little bit too much. You're not Bucksack. You can't take a couple more of those. Gotta be a little bit more careful. It's gonna force the back out of Columbia College.
That ball lane tower is so low, though, with 4 members still sticking around here. But that will be the start of the back is 4 kills onto Evan RL. The game plan, the win condition for Lourdes is keep this man down, and he's got an Infinity Edge at 11 minutes. There is not much more you can say at this point.
No, not for Caitlyn. Usually you talk about the mid-game power trough that she finds herself at. Well, Evan RL likes to prove us wrong with that. He always likes to be very aggressive, and you get 4 kills gifted to you by Lourdes and make your life so much easier.
Ooh, they have to be careful right now because no summoner spells except for Homecoming's cleanse exist in the bottom lane, but it does look like they will be getting out of that one alive, and that is now 0 for 2 on the Nocturne engages. Still, this is keeping par with what we expected coming out of the Nocturne, but it's got to turn once again at some point. Otherwise, this is a very clean 3-0 victory for Columbia College.
One thing that we really didn't talk about with that dive is, like, Chemo, he had the teleport, but never used it to try to join in to help out the team with the dive, so...
And that's actually just going to be the bot lane tower.
Yeah, and that's what I was just about to say. So the shot calling coming in from Lourdes seems to be a little bit haggard, as without using that TP from Chemo before, they just said that the first brick gold goes into the hands of Columbia at 12 minutes.
And that's still a 3.5k gold lead going in favor for Columbia College at the moment, and already such a giant hole to put themselves into. And if this was the game 1 team comp where you have the Corki in the mid lane, you have a good team fighting core, you still have the potential to bring this game out. But now, I said at the beginning of the game, 20 minutes was really when Lourdes needs to basically win this game by. That statement has not really changed for me.
Getting jumped on with the Glacial Prison, but Yami jumped into the backline as well with the Paranoia. He wanted to see if he can do some more, but now it's support on support into the backline. Artemis versus Dean. He drags him back as Misty Stumpy finds him well into that. Gets the grand challenge. He wants more too. He flashes towards Yami. He'll finally get him with the dash. The lunges coming through in effectiveness as A gets the triple kill by finalizing Homecoming. And now jumping up to 10 kills, Columbia College continue their onslaught.
It is clear that Lourdes are just not able to keep pace with Columbia College right now, and you see the difference in the way that both these teams set up their plays. Columbia College, every time that they find an advantage, they go through the process. They find the summoner spell disadvantage. They abuse it. They get the vision, and then they execute. Lourdes just feels like they're throwing everything they have at a wall and seeing what sticks, but unfortunately, that wall is extremely slippery at the moment.
So, Return, what's scarier than a 4-kill Caitlyn?
4-kill Fiora, probably.
You're completely right on that, because he just got 4 kills, 3 of those from that last fight. So Misty Stumpy with the Ravenous Hydra, he's even gotten some more farm. Sitting on about 1,700 gold, so be able to really jump up that lead as Chemo still has yet to finish the Triforce.
Yeah, it's still looking rough. Would have to say. And listen, there's no one on this team who can fight the Fiora. There's no one on this team who can fight Evan RL. there just needs to be one perfect play right now. You need to get something right this second from Lourdes if you want to pump a little bit more gold back into your economy. This is still homecoming on Jin. You have the potential tools available. You just need to fix them up.
Well, this goes back to what you were talking about in Champ Select. Lourdes drafted a composition that wanted to win by 20 minutes. Well, what do they do when they find themselves down nearly 7,000 gold at 14 minutes?
Unfortunately, the answer for all of that for the last few games has just been look at the next game, and at this point, there's no more next game. This is the season on the line. If they cannot turn this 8-kill deficit, the 7.1k gold deficit around right now, they will be done with the 2018 competitive season.
Misty Stumpy's got to be a little bit careful. He does have his tower to back him up, but doesn't have his team. 3 members.
He knows
of
better.
Lourdes. Smart play coming in from Misty, but Paranoia does not stop either. Neither does the Solar Flare, but look at the Grand Challenge coming in. Misty Stumpy, he wants to see if he can turn around. The heal comes in, but the Knight will finally help finish him off. So it'll be a 1-for-1 tower dive trade that I think Columbia will be very happy to take.
And even on top of that, during all that time Kelmy was on the bot side, that was the Rift Herald on the top lane for Columbia College. Buck, for the 3rd time in a row, has the Herald, has the potential to take another tower in already a 3-0 tower game, so Lourdes are going to keep going.
Julian, it almost looked like a rinse and repeat coming in from Lourdes, but I'd say Corky is a little bit more slippery than a Fiora, though not by much.
You know, definitely not. So, and it was a good attempt from Misty Stumpy. He was still playing a little bit too aggressive, and what I meant to say when I said, oh, he knows better, is that the 3 members on the top side of the map taking the Rift Herald should have signaled to Misty Stumpy that it was more likely than not that Hyami and just the rest of the squad for Lourdes was on the bottom side. So, a little bit over aggressive, does take the 1 kill for 1 kill, so in the end, not the worst trade in the world, but still could have been a little bit cleaner, and these are things that Columbia College is going to have to look forward to, looking at those Northern Championship Finals coming up in just 2 weeks.
Exactly. As for Lourdes, talked about it before, their win condition not really coming into effect, so if they don't change something soon, could be all over. This is a potential to be their final game as Artemis gets caught out. And it's pretty much telling the tale of this entire series between Columbia and Lourdes.
Honestly, this entire series, Artemis has been looking too good. Definitely part of that is just the team hasn't been able to really get anything going, and as a support, if your team is not really staying even, it's incredibly hard to support them and such, but it seems like every single time Columbia College want to find an advantage, they always find Artemis, and
the paranoia. They want to go into the back line. They want to jump onto Evan RL like we talked about before, but when you don't finalize the kill, it doesn't really help you out, Hyami. Gets slapped by the boar. Humo even in the back line. Teleport completed by Misty Stumpy just to try to run down this Jax. Boar jumps out of there, but Jace doesn't look like it's going to stop just yet. Misty Stumpy.
They are like dedicated.
Shark. He's like a shark. He smells the blood. He wants the kill. He might be able to get it, but I think it's going to be Julian that finally gets it.
Yeah, that war jump was just a little bit too short, but even so, there's just not really anywhere left to run as the Moby boots on Dean with the Thresh. Probably just a little bit too much to run away from.
Exactly, and that's one of those things when you have someone such as Thresh, he wants to make sure that you keep consistently picking people off, and Moby boots really helps facilitate that, and now the tier 2 falling in bot. It already fell in mid. That's 5 towers to 0 for Columbia at 18 minutes in. They have 14 kills as well. There's nearly been a kill a minute this game, but most of them are for Columbia.
And this looks as convincing as game number 1 so far. Certainly, it's not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, but it might as well be with how much they are just dominating this matchup. And I think Lourdes really lost this set after game number 2. They came into game number 3 thinking, okay, let's just try this one composition. They got so narrow-minded on what their comp needed to do, but I think where they actually need to go as a team is the exact opposite direction. In game number 1, they were so driven on that one playstyle where you have the... Oh, engage top lane? Maybe? Okay.
Well, it was an attempted one, but Hyami didn't use the paranoia to follow up.
Yeah, so... once again, game number 1, they were so gung-ho on this one competition that needed a little bit of discipline, a little bit of mid-game scaling to get that team fight rolling in. when that one thing in the bot lane didn't go right, they were unable to adapt. They were so on this one-track mind of A happens, then B happens, then C happens, and so forth. Whereas Columbia College are much more fluid. They have a much more holistic view of the game, and as such, they're able to adapt to each and every one of the misplays coming out of Lourdes. So I think in the end here, especially if Columbia College does finish the one out, I think the correct team will have won, but certainly not to put too much past Columbia Lourdes, because they've had an outstanding year so far.
Well, definitely. I mean, it's been unfortunate for them. They have to face Lourdes twice. So,
yeah.
Not just twice, but once in the group stage, once in the playoffs. It makes sense to meet a team of this caliber in the playoffs. When you have to face them before that, it makes it a little bit difficult. They try to see if they can go for this aggression into Columbia. They want to keep going. They want to say that they have some sort of fight left in them. But when all arrow is caught out like that, it doesn't really help your case. 5 kills onto this Caitlyn, and they're going for more. They want to pick off Yami for the double kill. Misty Stumpy in the bot lane takes out Chemo. And it's the rest of Lourdes following as well. There's not really much that they can do. Evan getting another triple kill. I'm pretty sure he's gotten one a game this series. He's been absolutely dominating throughout.
And there's the 20-minute mark, and unfortunately for Lourdes, the other team has come out on top as with only Homecoming to defend the base for the next 10 seconds. Certainly, it's not going to be the end of the game right here, but the end of the game cannot be that far off.
Now, when Misty Stumpy can get an inhibitor uncontested at 20 minutes, with Homecoming just sitting there smiling and waving, the rest of Columbia taking down the second inhibitor of the game at 21 minutes in the top side, not really too much hope. Even though, Lourdes, they want to put on a valiant attempt at a defense, I don't think you can really do that when you're finding yourself nearly 15,000 gold below at 21 minutes.
TP's coming in here. This could be the last chance fight for Columbia College, but how long is Arrow going to last?
Go for broke. You gotta go for broke. The teleport, the paranoia. They don't even pick off Evan. Instead, it's going to be Bucksack that will be traded out. So, hey, Lourdes can take that as a nice consolation prize. They took out the jungler. Maybe they can go for the Baron.
No way.
You might as well go for the ballsy player. I respect this, Lourdes. You do you, but Yami, you gotta be careful. You aren't very dank. You're taking so low. Same with the rest of the members of Lourdes.
It's only Artemis on the Baron.
Yeah, well, look at bot lane. That's the teleport coming in. They just want to see if they can go for that. They're going to leave Dean out to dry. They don't care about the support. They just want to go for the backdoor end of the game with both Evan and Dean following down. But Julian, he's saying, hey, I'll take at least the Nexus Tower with me. It won't be in time. Mr. Stumpy slowed down, but doesn't actually find anybody.
Yeah, that was a very ballsy move coming out of Lourdes, and unfortunately a little bit too delayed of a TP out from Julian. So I won't be able to get too much off that play. Does get a little bit of chip damage on the tower, but I mean, Baron still is up. That means that Lourdes still are technically in this game.
All right, Lourdes, you got to do that 5 more times.
But get it.
No. Because they came out the reciprocants of that. They traded 2 for 1. Behind 15,000 gold. No.
That's a slight difference in the gold league.
Hey, do you have 15 piles of gold in real life?
I do not have 15,000 gold in real life, but
no, 15 gold. Even 15. I don't think so.
Lourdes are gonna start this one up. They don't have Chemo just yet, but he has TP.
They're gonna try to go for the risky call. See if they can start picking up anybody. Chemo
This is what they
behind.
needed to do in game 1 and 2, honestly, especially game 2. This is exactly what needed to happen.
Yeah, but maybe not in this kind of circumstance, because now Columbia are like, thanks for the leash. We'll go for the Baron now.
Who is there to help up Homecoming? Because I think he might just be gone.
Well, there is that heroic entrance to try to see if he can help out Homecoming. He instantly cleanses the Glacial Prison, so Misty Stumpy doesn't want to keep up the chase. And meanwhile, in base, Chemo continues to farm up these super...
Scaling.
Scaling. Exactly.
Got that late game.
He's got the late game. I believe in the late game. Do you believe in the late game?
I believe. I have all of my hopes, all of my dreams resting on him scaling.
Good, because you're factually wrong in this situation. I'm sorry.
Perfect. That's what I live to be.
All right,
again.
Yami wants to go in. Can they actually find out Evan RL? He's still alive yet again. They can never kill that man. Instead, they trade 2, maybe make that 3 of their teammates for the attempted assassination of the AD carry. Now, they're going to lose so much more. Homecoming goes right over towards Evan RL. ace coming in for Columbia. This should be the game. This should be the series with the Super Minions already in the base for Columbia. This team dominating, yet to lose one single match in college LOL. They will be moving on into the finals for the Northern Conference.
And just like that, Columbia College are now guaranteed at least. Wait, let's watch this victory. There we go. Columbia College are guaranteed at least a spot into the play-in. So how it works from here, the winner of every conference championship auto gets the berth into the finals. So that is the top 8 teams at Riot Esports headquarters. All the fancy stuff, all the fancy production, all that kind of stuff. The second place team from